So this week on Britain, Poland, I'm in Żywiec. This is pretty much as south as you really get in Poland. So it's part of the Silesian region. Right now I'm in the Żywiec Brewery Museum, which we're about to explore. We've also done a fair bit of mountaining, nothing too high, a couple of peaks which are about 640 odd meters above sea level. Still a little steep. Need to practice more with the bike. Żywiec, it's a fairly small place, but there's a few nice things to see in the town centre, as well as the kind of natural beauty. You're surrounded by mountains here. So I hope you enjoy this video. It's yet another jewel in the crown of Poland. Dzień dobry and welcome to A Britain, Poland. With this channel, I travel across the country, I bring you the culture, and I show you just how amazing Poland is. So I invite you on my journey. If you want to see more, I have Facebook and Instagram profiles, which you will find links to in the description below. And if you want to really help out, you can turn to my Patreon or Patronite accounts, again in the description. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like, share and subscribe. Do zobaczenia. So, this is the way we took to Żywiec. Nice direct train from Warsaw. And yeah, that was quite a long journey. About 7 hours. So, painful. This is a rough idea of where we went in the city. It's not the biggest place, but definitely you could spend a few days here if you like the mountains. So I'm going to start off by showing you the town centre. I think this is the Grunwald Monument, if I'm not mistaken, which was put up back in the day, about 1910 or so. Maybe later, actually. This looks like it was probably a fun place to eat, but we didn't quite reach this venue. And to be honest, we went in a terrible time of year. It was kind of snowing / raining the whole time we were there. So perhaps these the colours in this video are a little bit grayer than you would see, but it gives you a nice range of the architecture that you see in the centre. And as I say, the centre itself is pretty small. I mean, the population of Żywiec is about 30,000 people, so not too big, not too small. This is the main square, and with Żywiec, it's actually located in the Żywiec basin, so it's part of like the Beskidy range or Żywiecki Beskidy or something like that. So it is surrounded by mountains, and the town itself is actually about 350 odd meters above sea level. Weird golden fire hydrant. So it was very quiet when we were there. Didn't really see too many locals, but I think we were kind of outside of tourist season, really. We've been a bit unlucky this year in Poland in terms of the weather. It's been a bit rainy on virtually every trip we've done. And May so far, where I'm recording this, has been a complete washout, which is really sad. Reminds me of the weather we had about 5 years ago. Hopefully we have a nice summer to compensate. So we're going to start off by going to the castle. I'll tell you a bit about the castle, and then I will go into a bit of the history. So we're just kind of getting near there now, just passing a few more monuments and churches and whatever this building here is. I'm sure it's something, special. This is another monument, I believe, from the Second World War. Yeah, this church is quite interesting. I think what makes it special, as you'll see, is there are the 3 crosses here. So this is something a little bit different. But yes, so let's get to the castle and the palace, which are kind of next to each other.
So the old castle was built in the 15th century. It's the oldest Gothic structure. The oldest Gothic structure consisted of a residential tower, wooden buildings, and a moat. Later, the whole structure became a defensive fort, but by the end of the 16th century, it took on the characteristics of a Renaissance residence, with cloisters and attics. Subsequent redevelopments, yet returning to the style of an elegant residence, were carried out by the Wielkopolski and Habsburg families. Currently, the castle is completely renovated, and the castle courtyard with its beautiful cloisters delights with its architectural artistry. Since 2005, the old castle has housed the Municipal Museum, which has a valuable collection of religious art from the Church of the Holy Cross in Żywiec. There is also an exhibition of outfits from the residents of Żywiec, antique furniture, iconography of the town of Żywiec, and memorabilia associated with the Żywiec Habsburgs. It's worth mentioning is a collection of gilded memorabilia, one of the largest in Poland. Worthy of note also are the historic chambers. One is the 19th century Biedermeier Salon. There is also a cafe in the castle, and in nearby buildings there are stables with horses and ponies which can be ridden through the historic park. Visitors can also be taken for a ride in a carriage. And yeah, that's, let's say, the official blog of the museum. And there was a fair amount to see. I think we got around the interior in an hour, maybe just under 2 hours. You have a few different buildings to go into. So what you're seeing here is the main museum. That's the symbol of the town. Actually, I have a slight myth associated with that. Let's talk about the myth. So the name Żywiec, there are a couple of suggestions for the origin. So one name is likely coming from the Polish term for livestock, but there is another which says there is a legend that it comes from a Slavic pagan goddess with the head of an auroch, hence the bull on the shield. This is the Ethnographic Museum, and this is pretty cool because you see these kind of sort of scary Ku Klux Klan looking figures, who are nothing of the sort, of course, and a lot of the kind of traditional costumes that would be worn for different ceremonies, I guess particularly springtime, Christmas time. This is a cool little geographical map, so you get to see just how mountainous the region is. And there were a few stuffed animals, which, were pretty scary. There was a beaver somewhere, which is the more or less national animal of Poland. This is the castle park, which, as you can imagine, at this time of year was perhaps not the greatest. That's the Chinese pagoda in the background. We were in a bit of a hurry, so we're kind of just rushing through this park. So that's why you're seeing a very kind of quick snapshot of what it's like here. If it was the summer, I would definitely have tried to make more of an attempt to really get it. Yeah, that was some pretty interesting looking kind of stone structure in the middle, which I wouldn't have minded getting closer to, but never mind. When you're following the group, you have to keep up with the group, and I'm getting old. So this is a kind of bridge just the south. Yeah, so you have a few rivers flowing through Żywiec and water, yay. And the bridge itself, fairly impressive. There's also this big kind of amphitheatre on the other side, which I guess is used for like rock concerts and the like. But we're going to go up our first mountain to, is it Żywiec? Is the peak there? So while you're enjoying the views, I will go into the history. So apparently the town was originally settled by the Celts, but in terms of its Polish history, it was part of the Duchy of Cieszyn and later Oswiecim. And in 1327, the latter duchy was gifted to the Kingdom of Bohemia. And actually, the city had to be moved because due to frequent floods, it was refounded on a new location, higher ground, in 1448. In 1457, the duchy would be sold back to Poland, purchased by King Casimir IV Jagiellon, and it was incorporated into Lesser Poland. Yeah, one thing you note about these places is the borders of the different voivodeships of Poland change over the years. So in 1467, the city was granted to the Komorowski family as a reward for putting an end to the Skrzyński's robbery activities. In 1477, military action was taken against the Komorowski family as he favoured the King of Hungary, and the castle was burned down. But he soon changed his mind when, I guess, close to losing the battle. In 1537, it was granted rights to produce malt for beer and vodka, and the right to sell alcohol. In 1542, you had the first hospital. In 1548, the first municipal brewery was founded. Not the famous one today, which we will get onto, because you get to the brewery once you get past the mountain. In 1624, it was purchased by Constance of Habsburg for 600,000 zloty. Quite a bargain. You couldn't get a flat for that these days. She was noted for banning Jews from settling in the city, a law that would last for a few centuries, actually, but they would base themselves in some of the neighbouring villages. In 1626, it was confirmed with Magdeburg rights, which led to an accelerated economic development. In 1655, King John Casimir was handed back the city and tasked the inhabitants with expelling the Swedish invasion, which they did rather well. However, in 1656, the Swedes came back, there was a great battle, they captured the city, plundered it, and largely destroyed it within hours. In 1678, it was purchased by the Wielkopolski family, who expanded the castle in the Baroque style. Okay, we'll take a bit of a break from the history because we are now getting to the brewery. And the brewery itself is pretty cool. It's actually, I can say it's one of the best brewery museums I've been to in Poland. Maybe the best. I'm torn. It's better than Tychy. Perła, though, I really liked. But this one felt a bit more modern, a bit more interactive. And it was pretty cool. Yeah, we got the audio tour, which makes a big difference on these places because I think they were fairly good with having, translations of the signage into English. So you could spend hours reading and reading. But anyway, so the brewery, this one, the main one left now, was established in 1856 on the initiative of the Duke of Teschen and Albrecht Frederick Habsburg. The architect of the entire undertaking was Karol Piechka. He designed, among other things, a brew house, malt house, barley, malt granaries, a drying room, a laboratory building, a main building, a machine hall, a cold store, a boiler room with a characteristic chimney, a storage room with an ice house, a cooperage, and other administrative and utility buildings. So he designed a lot. In 1895, Charles Stephen of Habsburg inherited the brewery, and the expansion of the railway network in Galicia and the creation of its own rolling stock in the brewery contributed to the rapid transport of fresh Żywiec beer and its popularity in Poland and abroad. In 1933, it would be passed to Karol Olbrucht. However, in 1939, the Germans take over and Karol was thrown into prison. He was spared from death, I think, because some Swedish kings or whatever stepped in and appealed to the Germans, don't kill this guy. So the beer was appropriated to the army, the German army, of course. In 1945, it would go to the Red Army, but then it would become part of the Polish state ownership. And there is a logo of Żywiec, the famous dancing couple of Krakow, and that was instituted in 1956, particularly so that it had a more recognized brand for Poles living abroad. In 1994, it was purchased by Heineken. So the brewery is quite fun. There was a lot of interactive exhibits. I love the fact that it had a small kind of bowling alley, and you get, of course, free beer at the end, well, included with the price of the ticket. But if you don't like beer, there are soft drinks as well. And yeah, I like it when they have something, but it's only really the Pearl Brewery I've been to where the beer actually tastes different. So we're going to go back through the city. I appreciate if you've stuck around this long. We'll see some more churches, because there are a lot of churches actually in Żywiec. It seems to be quite a holy place from what I can see, because even when you're going up the mountain trails, they have these Stations of the Cross and the big cross on the hill, which you saw at Żywiec. This is the big lake, which I think is where the old city was located before it was moved. But where do we get to in the history? Okay, so in 1678 it was purchased by the Wielopolski family, who expanded the castle into the Baroque style. In 1772 it would fall to Austria as part of the first partition of Poland. In 1838 it was purchased by Charles Louis of Habsburg, and there was a rapid industrialization of the city. In 1856 the Archduke Brewery was established, which we just visited. You also had the Frederick Steelworks, which were transformed into a screw factory in 1910. I saw a list of industry, and a lot of industry came to Żywiec, so it was a very industrial town. In 1878, the railway was established. In 1914, with the sort of discussion of the independence of Poland on the horizon, Charles Stephen of Habsburg, actually, he was kind of pro-Polish, and he actually decided that he was going to run for the Polish throne, because at that point they thought that maybe it would be a monarchy. However, it became a republic, but it didn't matter anyway for him, because he was stopped by the Viennese emperor for some reason. He went on to become the president of the Academy of Arts in Krakow in 1918. Oh, this is a random Soviet cemetery that we saw. So basically, we went on a couple of mountain hikes. This is the first one we did, but the second one you'll see on this video. We'll come back to that. Let me just finish off the history. So in World War II, the city would become part of the Third Reich. Polish residents were actually treated quite well at the start. However, they would soon find themselves as second-class citizens. Polish companies were taken over and handed to the Germans. And Polish people would work 10-hour days and would often be required to help with war efforts, such as building fortifications. Some would be arrested and sent on to camps. In 1945, Soviet forces would assault the city. And yes, of course, it goes back to Poland after that. So this was a sanctuary of Our Lady of Rickwald, established in 1756. And yeah, it was a pretty big and impressive place, and the people inside were very friendly. They let us use the toilet, and it was nice. I actually donated to this place because the people in there were so friendly, and it was an impressive building. Just like in the kind of middle of nowhere by this sort of village just outside of Żywiec, this Rickwald, and yeah, truly beautiful. I really do love these interiors. I mean, the level of art is incredible. So we continue on our hike, and we saw horses, and you can see the all the white stuff that's falling on the screen is the snow, which was blowing into our faces most of the time. We actually did the hike in kind of record time. I think mainly because we hated the weather so much. This was a little random sanctuary, and you can see it's got the bloody figure of Jesus, which is a bit less common and rather graphic. as I say, this area, they must have some strong religious ties here, because there are so many churches, so many sanctuaries. Here's another one, and I have to film them because they're kind of remarkable little structures, and it just shows the faith, and fair play. I was talking to a monk actually at a wedding recently, and I was saying that since moving to Poland, I do have a lot more respect for Christianity than I had living in the UK, which is a largely atheist country, sadly, these days. But yeah, the faith of the Polish people is truly incredible, and I love that. But we're finally getting to the peaks of the mountain here. So this is Whisker, which is not that tall, about 650 meters or so above sea level. Though I don't know if it was the weather, I don't know if it's because I'm getting old, but I was, struggling a bit on this one. And to be honest, we've, been on a fair number of mountain trails, and this one wasn't perhaps the greatest until you actually got to the mountain. You do a lot of walking along roads through villages on the way, which defeats the point of a hike. But this was really nice. I love how the snow just made the trees look, it's like a kind of frozen forest. And unfortunately, the clouds do kind of ruin the view slightly. This is us heading back to the centre of Żywiec and seeing a few pretty cool gardens and things on the way. Another church. A lot of churches. But anyway, I hope you like this little tour of Żywiec. It was a nice place to visit. I would rather go with better weather. But thank you very much for watching. Do zobaczenia, and please like and subscribe.